When I go like this, you have to stop. When he rips the microphone out of your hand, you really have to stop. He has promised not to do that. He's got 5 minutes, and I'm going to start it when he starts talking.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I'm also not going to use a microphone. I think you'll be able to hear me just fine without it. My name's Bill Redpath. I'm the Libertarian candidate for U.S. House of Representatives in the 10th Congressional District this year. I'm running against Frank Wolf, the Republican, and Jeff Barnett, the Democrat. I am following up. Basically, Jim Bacon went first today because I thought it was best to sort of set the table, so to speak, before I got up and spoke to specific policy proposals, but to have somebody speak about the problem first, and that's what Jim did. But actually, the problem may even be worse. His wife says he's overly gloomy, but I've actually heard worse than that. I recently read an article written by, or actually maybe it was an interview on the internet with Dr. Lawrence Kotlikoff. He's a professor of economics at Boston University. And he said he had analyzed the situation and said that the U.S. government, if it had to keep its books according to generally accepted accounting principles, as do the corporations in the United States, and if they don't, their executives go to jail. But the Congress doesn't have to do that. The federal government doesn't have to do that. But he said that he basically did an estimate of today's present value of the future expenditures of the federal government, and subtracted from that the present value of the future receipts of the federal government. And the difference between those two numbers under current policies was $202 trillion. The present value of the future expenditures exceeded the present value of the future receipts of the federal government by $202 trillion. The current gross domestic product of the United States is approximately $15 trillion per year. So that number, $202 trillion, is over 13 times the current gross domestic product of the United States. Between that and the presentation of Mr. Bacon, I've told people for years, and I don't like saying this, but the federal government is going to welsh on its promises to the American people. Not because it wants to, but because it will have to. And it's a very sad situation. And it is a situation that we can address. And it is a situation that I have spoken to with respect to trying to reform entitlements. We have to do that. There's no getting around that. Specifically, the big three entitlements of the federal government are Medicare, Social Security, and Medicaid. Probably the easiest of those three, and it's a tough enough problem, but Social Security is probably the easiest of those three. I support the Cato Institute's 6.2% plan for Social Security that would allow young people who want to get out of the Social Security system to set up personal accounts and have their Social Security contribution go into their personal accounts. Then the 6.2% contribution from employers would go to support today's Social Security recipients. The Congressional Budget Office has studied this plan and says that it is a sound way to get Social Security back onto long-term fiscal solvency. And that is my solution to the situation with respect to Social Security. With respect to Medicare, I think that we need to use vouchers in the Medicare program to allow recipients to have vouchers that are something that they can maintain control of. They maintain control of expenditure of funds. People spend their own money more carefully than they spend other people's money. This would be something that would go into a medical savings account. It would ultimately be inheritable. It would reduce expenditures, but Medicare premiums need to be adjusted for two things: lifetime income history, so that those who have earned more over the past pay higher premiums for Medicare, and also health status. There needs to be an adjustment for those two things, health status and income history, to alter each individual's Medicare premiums. And with respect to Medicaid, this is a welfare program. It's a medical welfare program. Currently, it's a matching grant program that actually gives states incentives to spend more, because if they spend more, they get the federal government to match that and spend more. They need to cure that by moving into a block grant program where a fixed amount is given to the states and phase it out over 10 years to allow the states to adjust to providing this services to their own citizens. Under the U.S. Constitution, it should be the responsibility of the states to address welfare issues, not the federal government, and Medicaid needs to be changed to a block grant program and phased out over a 10-year period. But beyond that, there need to be other spending cuts to the federal government, in my opinion. I think politicians never have to have an original idea. They just have to take and choose wisely among the ideas that are already floating around out there. With respect to downsizing government, I'll wrap up here in just a moment, but with respect to downsizing government, I see your hand. If I could just wrap up here, if I may. With respect to I would say go to downsizinggovernment.org from the Cato Institute, with only 6 departments that they address. $440-some billion of annual savings are identified on there. And I would also say that the problem is really simpler than that. From the Cato Institute, although I would cut those programs, I would also say that the Cato Institute put something out this week that said that if the federal government only grew spending by 2% per year through 2020, that's essentially flat real spending, just for inflation, 2% growth per year, with revenues growing the way they are, the budget would be balanced by the year 2020. That shows you how profligate the current politicians have been, and why I'm running for the U.S. Congress, because the spending situation in Washington is absolutely out of control with the Republicans and the Democrats. That's why I'm running for Congress, and I respectfully ask for your vote on November 2nd. Thank you very much.